It's a story I could never have invented. But unfortunately, it's true. 4 years ago, a French spy brought a document to the War Office that he'd stolen from the waste paper basket of the German embassy here in Paris. It was handwritten. It had been torn into pieces. When it was pieced together again, we were told it was an unsigned, handwritten memorandum from a traitor in the French Army General Staff, offering to sell sensitive military secrets to the Germans. Soon after, Commandant du Paty de Clan summons his colleague, Captain Alfred Dreyfus. He's a very hard-working, married man, and his abilities have enabled him to become the only Jew to hold a senior position in the intelligence department of the Army General Staff. He is 35. Dreyfus is wealthy, not sociable, and the object of some jealousy. Paty de Clan asks Dreyfus to take some dictation. It consists of a text very similar to that found in the wastepaper basket of the German embassy. He challenges Dreyfus. "You're trembling!" "No," Dreyfus replies, "but my fingers are cold." Suddenly the doors fly open. Enter the chief of security. He arrests Dreyfus for treason. He's placed in solitary confinement. No communication with the outside world, not even his wife and family. A revolver is offered to provide the gentleman's way out. Oh, not surprisingly, the prisoner goes nearly mad, knocking on the walls, protesting his innocence, shouting, "My only crime is being born a Jew." Court-martial follows. Behind closed doors, Dreyfus is condemned on the conflicting evidence of handwriting experts amongst dark references to other interests of state. He's sentenced to perpetual imprisonment after public degradation. Dreyfus parades at the military academy, symbols of his rank ripped from his uniform, his sword broken. Still protesting his innocence, he marches round the square. Passing a group of reporters, he urges them, "Now you will tell France that I am innocent." The press replies, "Hold your tongue, miserable, traitor, Judas, dirty Jew." So, Dreyfus is shipped off to Devil's Island. And Paty de Clan becomes a colonel. 2 years pass. The waste paper baskets at the German embassy yield up another handwritten document. The writing is exactly the same as that of the treasonable memorandum. It's signed by its author, one Esterhazy, a senior army officer. At the same time, a reproduction of the first handwritten memorandum appears in the national press. Those who know Dreyfus's handwriting now know it wasn't his. And those who know Esterhazy's handwriting, like his bank manager, recognize it. Mathieu Dreyfus, the brother, now publishes a letter to the Secretary for War accusing Esterhazy of being the author of the first memorandum and demanding justice for his brother. In response, Esterhazy demands a court-martial to clear his name. And that's where I'm going. In just one moment. No human drama has ever filled me with a more poignant emotion. It is the fight for truth, and it is the only good one, the only great one. I smell not just injustice, but something much worse. Unlike some Frenchmen, I can discuss Jews quite calmly. I neither love nor hate them. I have no close friends among them, but they are men. Frenchmen, French citizens, that's enough for me. And yet, those of us who defend Dreyfus are pilloried for undermining French society, undermining the law, the army, and the Catholic Church. It's claimed that a syndicate of Jews who have no country to be loyal to, rich and powerful Jews, are making their millions work clandestinely to rescue him, buying consciences, engulfing us all in a dreadful conspiracy, betraying France, and all to save this Jew, Dreyfus, from infamy and replace him with a Christian. Esterhazy. And who's created this syndicate? 20 newspapers. A gutter press I cannot read without bursting with indignation. And this gutter press has ceaselessly persuaded the public that this syndicate of Jews is buying consciences for gold. The gutter press created this syndicate. Now, first, this syndicate was plotting to rescue the traitor and replace him with Esterhazy. Then the syndicate was aiming to discredit the army, lock, stock, and barrel. Next, all France is betrayed. And that's what France still thinks. Most of it. The only real syndicate working for Dreyfus' release are those of us who want truth and justice to prevail. I sincerely hope by now I've been identified as a member. And I'm quite prepared to excuse the Jews if, when driven to it, they defend themselves with their millions. In a massacre, you make use of whatever you have. Quite simply, all there's been since Dreyfus' conviction is a few uneasy consciences, doubt. Some whisper they're convinced Dreyfus is innocent. But it's not their business to interfere. No one speaks. No one expresses indignation. I don't know what the effect's been on others. It's making me ill. And my symptoms reveal the disease we're all suffering from. The gutter press has led us all astray. And the fit of corruption into which France has been thrown has revealed its putrid ulcer in broad daylight. Anti-Semitism. A single crime has become the crime of an entire race. All Jews, all traitors, all guilty. Jew hatred, perpetrated in the name of morality, in the name of Christ and his church, and all in the name of France. We are beginning religious persecution all over again, wanting the extermination of race by race. I refuse to believe such a movement could ever be successful in France. Nothing could be more unworthy of France. France, a country of free thought, of reason, of justice. Anti-Semitism has given a dangerous virulence to this whole lamentable Dreyfus affair. The poison is in the people. And you're telling me such an atmosphere didn't influence Dreyfus' court-martial? A treacherous Jew betraying his country. There's no evidence. There's no motive. He's rich, prudent, hard-working, his life impeccable. But he's a Jew. And that is enough. Dreyfus has become the traitor. No longer a man, a personification. All present, all past, all future betrayals. Dreyfus can be blamed for everything. An evil-minded, loathsome creature bringing shame on our glorious army, betraying his brother officers like Judas. So, today it's anti-Semitism that's on trial, not Esterhazy. Can a Jew be innocent? If he can, what a blow against the foul Jew-baiters. I am ashamed. Had I not been there, I would not have believed. Had I not heard Esterhazy declared not guilty, I would not have imagined it possible. The river of mud has burst its banks. Oh, France, you have committed a real crime. You cannot remain France if you're so easily deceived. Where is your liberty, your vaunted fraternity, your equality now? Blind justice is gagged, made to fall on her own sword, all to protect the honor of a corrupt army and the good name of France. What good name? And who has caused all this? Who has dragged it out so interminably? Our masters. Those who, made aware of it over a year ago, dared to do nothing. They were forewarned of a terrible storm brewing. How can a country be expected to find its way through such an upheaval when those who claim to be its masters remain silent? The fault is theirs. Truth was marching. Anti-Semitism is revealed today as the means of leading my country on her knees back to the altars of the Catholic Church. What a triumph. Embroiling France in religious wars again. And if you prick us, do we not bleed? Far away, on a small remote island, baked by a harsh sun, there exists a human being who has been separated from all humanity. Not only the ocean isolates him. 11 guards keep him night and day behind a living wall. 11 men to guard just one. No murderer, no madman has ever been so strictly confined in eternal silence. 3 years on Devil's Island, atoning for a crime he didn't commit, suffering the slow pain of the hatred of an entire nation. And he is innocent. Now, knowing this, can I deny Dreyfus his defense? It cannot remain unwritten. I'm afraid the consequences for my country, for me. But the pieces must be put together again, and France must recognize herself. The gutter press is writing history every day, but it's not the truth. I thought the law would reveal the truth. Now I have no choice but to write it myself. Those responsible will be duly named and recorded. No one, however small, will escape. A letter to Monsieur Félix IV, President of the Republic of France. Monsieur President, permit me, I beg you, to inform you that your honorable record is being tarnished. Mud is sticking to your name. The abominable Dreyfus affair. A court-martial has, by order, acquitted Esterhazy and branded France. History will record that it was during your presidency. The gutter press has dared. I, too, shall dare. I pledge myself to tell the truth if the legal process did not uncover it fully. The law has failed, and I've no wish to be an accomplice. My nights haunted by the specter of an innocent being expiating under the most frightful torture. A crime he never committed. And to whom, if not to you, Monsieur President, the highest magistrate in the country, shall I denounce the true culprits? The truth first, about the trial and condemnation of Dreyfus. Scene, Dreyfus before the court-martial. Absolute secrecy. If Dreyfus had actually led the German emperor at the head of his army straight into Notre Dame, no more extreme security measures could have been taken. Terrible accusations are whispered. Monstrous treasons. No punishment severe enough. Public degradation. Dreyfus stands in the dock. Tall, pale, hollow-eyed. Every inch a career officer. He surveys his judges, then his prosecutor, du Paty de Clan. He listens, still disbelieving, to accusations he has consistently denied. His is the agony of an innocent man who knows he's been trapped. The charges, drawn up in an order of mystery like some 15th century saga, are all based on a single unsupportable accusation that Dreyfus wrote that memorandum. But what do the charges actually show? They show that Dreyfus knows several languages. Crime. He works hard. Crime. No compromising papers are found in his home. Crime. He is not easily worried. Crime. He is worried. Crime. But the real crime is a shocking denial of justice. We are told there are 14 charges. In the end, there's only one. That memorandum. That any man can be condemned on such a charge is iniquitous. I challenge you to read it and not be overcome with indignation. That memorandum, even the handwriting experts can't agree Dreyfus wrote it. One of them is roughed up for not coming to the desired conclusion. Naturally, the judges are in favor of acquittal, until they're informed of a secret paper containing evidence so overwhelming, so secret, that they are impossible ever to reveal. No, lies! And more lies. That secret paper or the secret files never existed. And they didn't even have the wit to forge them. Monsieur President, these are the facts. That one pernicious individual concocted everything. Lieutenant Colonel... No, sorry. Now, Colonel du Paty de Clan. He is the Dreyfus affair. He is its ruling spirit, haunted by romantic intrigues, titillating himself with stolen papers, strange trysts, mysterious women, even interrogating Dreyfus in a room lined entirely with mirrors. I declare, simply, du Paty de Clan, the prosecuting officer, is the most guilty of this miscarriage of justice, submitting Dreyfus to his mad experiments, bursting into his cell in the middle of the night, demanding confessions from an innocent man. It's incredible. A harrowing dementia. A nightmare. Now, we come to Major Esterhazy. Even while Dreyfus is suffering on Devil's Island, leaks still seem to be coming from inside the Army General Staff. A dispatch is found addressed to Major Esterhazy from the agents of a foreign power. A new investigation begins, and the conclusion convinces General Gans that Esterhazy is the real traitor. Generals Billot and Boisdeffre are also convinced the memorandum is the work of Esterhazy. But condemning Esterhazy means revising the Dreyfus verdict, and that the generals have to avoid. Can you understand that? For more than a year, those generals have known Dreyfus is innocent, and they've covered it up. And these men sleep. But meanwhile, in Paris, truth is marching, indefatigable, unconquerable. Mathieu Dreyfus, the brother, announces the real author of the memorandum, Major Esterhazy. Witnesses have testified to Esterhazy's reaction, flight or suicide. Then, suddenly, he gambles. He denies it, amazing all Paris by his denials. Why? Help has arrived. A mysterious veiled woman, I perceive the fertile imagination of Colonel du Paty de Clan, visits him at dead of night, solely to return a paper stolen from the General Staff, which will save him. And the beautiful result, Dreyfus, who is supremely honest, the only man who has done his duty, remains their victim. This then, Monsieur President, is the Esterhazy affair. A guilty man extricated for reasons of state. Now, the second court-martial made its decisions like going into battle. Heads down, no reasoning. A court-martial condemned Dreyfus. He is therefore guilty. We are a court-martial. Therefore, we cannot find Dreyfus innocent. And we cannot find Esterhazy guilty because that would also be finding Dreyfus innocent. The first court-martial might have been stupid. The second was certainly criminal. Captain Alfred Dreyfus cannot be vindicated unless the entire General Staff of the Army is indicted. Together with the Minister of War, whose intellect seems but mediocre, the Chief of the General Staff, who yields to his clerical passions, and the Under-Chief of the General Staff, whose conscience so readily adjusts itself. Those who know the truth, from whom the truth is now so furiously demanded, still hesitate, put off any formal admission in the hope that it will prevail of its own accord and they'll be spared the painful duty of owning up. A still greater crime, these same people have used the gutter press to accuse those who desire France to be generous, liberal, at the head of free and just nations, of plotting her downfall. It is a crime for these newspapers to misdirect public opinion and to pervert it until it becomes delirious. It is a crime to poison small and simple minds, to arouse the passions of intolerance through anti-Semitism. France will die of it if she's not cured soon. It is a crime to exploit patriotism for motives of hatred. And it is a crime, finally, to make the sword a modern god when human science is working to bring about a future of truth and justice. Monsieur President, that is the simple truth, the fearful truth. Only today has this affair really begun. When truth is buried underground, it chokes, but it still grows. gathering such an explosive force that on the day it bursts out, it blows up everything. I accuse General de Pellier and Major Ravelry of having made an inquest of the most monstrous partiality. I accuse the three handwriting experts, Messieurs Bellon, Varinard, and Couard, of having made fraudulent reports, unless a medical examination certifies them deficient of sight. I accuse Colonel Dupaty-Daclan of having been the diabolical agent of judicial error, of having continued to defend his deadly work during the past 3 years through the most absurd and revolting machinations. I accuse General Mercier of having made himself an accomplice in one of the greatest crimes of history, probably through weak-mindedness. I accuse General Billot of having had in his hands the decisive proofs of the innocence of Dreyfus and of having concealed them to save the face of the General Staff. I accuse General Boisdeffre and General Gons of being accomplices. The former, no doubt, through religious prejudice. The latter out of esprit de corps. I accuse the War Office of having led a vile campaign in the press to cover up their activities and misdirect public opinion. Lastly, I accuse the First Court-Martial of having violated all human rights in condemning a prisoner on testimony kept secret from him. And I accuse the Second Court-Martial of having covered up this illegality by order, committing in turn the judicial crime of acquitting Esterhazy, a guilty man with full knowledge of his guilt. In making these accusations, I am aware that I render myself liable to Articles 30 and 31 of libel laws of July the 29th, 1881, which punish acts of defamation. I expose myself voluntarily. As to the men I accuse, I do not know them. I have never seen them. I feel neither resentment nor hatred against them. The action I take here is simply a revolutionary step designed to hasten the explosion of truth and justice. Then let them dare to take me to the Court of Appeals. Let there be another inquest in the full light of day. I am waiting.